Let's take this across to Nilanjana Chakrabarti, activist who's joining us on the phone lines. Ms. Nilanjana, I think for all of us, this video is numbing to say the least. It's shocking that this has happened in the national capital and the brazenness of the crime. What do you believe that leads to something like this even in 21st century India, that in 2022, we're still talking about these kind of crimes happening in Delhi?
Oh yes, absolutely. What is really, really disheartening and deeply, deeply saddening, I would say, is that even after the Nirbhaya case, in spite of the fact that, there was so much of brouhaha about all these, that the measures should fall in place, etc., and with so much of talk on women empowerment, etc., after that also, something so basic, like if the girls are in a, PG accommodation, it is so, how do we send our daughters then? If they are not safe, there are a group of girls staying, so you don't know who's going to come and do what. So I guess clearly action needs to be taken for the sake of security for the girls and the women, is that, these houses, these accommodations, which have these PG accommodations, hostels, they have to have a tie-up with the local police station, and the police stations have to have this, checks and balances with them to check, if everything is okay, if everything is fine. There has to be a certain, there has to be a certain format whereby the checklist has to be ticked as to how many pointers are there which they are adhering to, probably a weekly checkup, monthly checkup, and those areas which are sensitive, especially where you feel that women are very, very unsafe, but unfortunately, poor thing, they have to go and attend offices and they have to stay for education. Those have to be monitored even more strictly. Unless we do that, it's not going to happen. And the girls, I think the women, whoever they are, the inmates, they need to have certain numbers which they can dial. CCTV cameras, so we have a lot of technology today. I really don't know why it's still not in place. And Delhi, being Delhi,
there's CCTV cameras there. That's how we've got this footage. It has not deterred these attackers in any way. This is happening in Delhi, let me remind you. And the reality is that for many, many women out there, we feel safer in groups. And in this case, even that hasn't helped. So what really is a deterrent here? It's unfortunate that women have to take these steps in the first place. And despite that, this kind of brazen attack on these women in a guest house in Delhi. Thanks, Nilanjana, for joining us.